This is BrandScience, the podcast.
Nice work.
Unbelievable.
Sponge and Pockmark's gone fast.
And a filter cigarette.
Welcome to BrandScience, the podcast. Today, we talk with one of the leading voiceover and animation talents in North America, and I'm proud to say a longtime friend, Tony Daniels. As we talk about in the interview, Tony is a triple threat, and then some. He's a man of 1,000 voices and accents, but also a writer, musician, a producer, and one of the best networkers I've ever known. He's the voice of Tony the Tiger in Canada and one of the imaging voices of CBC Radio and television in Canada, and he's voiced thousands of cartoons and has added on-screen actor to his resume, playing the part of Fat Elvis in Erie, Indiana. And he appeared on HBO's High Maintenance playing the part of, you guessed it, a voice guy. Full disclosure, we got backlogged with pandemic, and this interview was recorded last year. How are you, Tony?
Hi, Tim. God, it's been a long time.
It sure has. You know, I have known you since 1986, and I know.
Oh, that's right.
And I remember you would call into the radio station I was working at the time in St. Catharines, and there was a 1-800 line. You would call in, and you wouldn't say, "Hi, my name's Tony, and I do these cool voices." You would just go right into the voices, these amazing voices, and these characters. And
I was bored. I was working for Bell Canada at the time as a tech.
I know.
Engineering guy, right?
Yeah, we'll get to that in just a sec. But you were so talented and so quick-witted that eventually we started writing bits together. And I remember my boss at the time said to me, "Who is this guy?" Eric. And
Eric Samuels.
And I said, "Oh, he's this guy who phones in on the 1-800 line. He's super freaking funny." And he said, "Yeah, okay, sure, we'll roll with it."
Well, I like coming to see you at the radio station because you just go, "Watch this."
You used to
Hey,
drive
a big shout out to the fish and chips company, and boom, we'd have fish and chips for lunch.
That's right. Yeah. You actually started driving from Toronto to St. Catharines. You would sit in on the show, and we would do these bits together, and it was just such a hoot. And do you remember the one character that you did?
The Queen Mother.
That's right, from the Buckingham Palace of Pancakes.
In North Tonawanda.
North Tonawanda, yes.
We had a good time. Now, Timmy used to tell me that I was his favorite.
Remember, used to get complaints from people calling in going, "I'm driving around North Tonawanda. I can't find the Buckingham Palace of Pancakes."
It's true.
There's no GPS back then.
It's true. Oh, yeah, that was my favorite character for sure. Yeah. And so you did all these voices, but then I found out that you were also doing voices for just about every morning show in Toronto at the time.
I mean, I've been hanging out with the Q guys, since the Scruff days.
The Q107,
yeah. And then I became like when I was about 12 or 11, Tom Rivers had come into this bar I was playing at. And he goes, "I want you on my radio show." And I was like, "Ooh,
that actually sounds like Tom."
Yeah. "Hey, big Tom Rivers. I'm dead now, but it's okay." Anyways, no, we had a big fight before he passed. Anyway,
that's too bad.
But we cemented our friendship again.
Yeah, no, he was an awesome talent.
He was an American who ran away during the war.
Oh,
did you know that?
I did not know he was a draft dodger.
Yeah, Tom. And then he did some time up in Alaska for a while after they lifted the what was that called? The
draft dodger law. We're going to change.
But what they called it, they had some. I can't remember.
Amnesty, I think it was.
Amnesty.
Yeah.
I'm getting old, Tim.
What's you and me both. You and me both.
But Tom, he came in and watched me play. I was like 12 or 11, and so I went in and I played a couple songs on his show, and I went, "I want to do this," And
so he was the one. He gave you the bug.
He gave me the bug. But also within a year, I was doing a friend of mine, Gary Malice. We were in Cub Scouts together and then Boy Scouts. He said, "Hey, I'm doing this TV show on Graham Cable. It was called Rap Line, and I think it was, I'm trying to remember all the people that were there originally. Anyway, he says, come in, watch me." So I show up and the boss goes, "He just called. He's not coming. You're on the air."
That's
I go,
great.
"What?"
That's great.
Yeah, so he goes, "You know how to use a turntable, don't you?" And I go, "Oh yeah, sure."
That's great.
And then, then right after, my friend, I had called a couple of friends had said, "Oh, talk to this guy, talk to these record companies." So Charlie Camilleri, friend, and I became friends with his son Ron and his other son Rick. They're the twins. Rick ran Sony Music, and Ron ran Epic Records.
Okay.
Anyway, and we became really close. We still talk every so often. But Charlie says, "Tony, I got these things. They're called videos." He goes, "You know anything about them?" And I go, "Yeah, we have a couple of 1-inch and 1-inch machines." So here's this kid who I didn't have a car at the time. I was underage. And I've got these 1-inch and 2-inch videotapes.
Wow, I
So you
remember
know
those.
the weight of those,
Yeah,
right?
oh,
That,
God,
for
anchors.
people at home, they weighed like 10,000 pounds. And I had like 10 of these videos on me, and I have a belt, and I strapped them on the belt. And it was like, "Oh."
You were paying your dues.
I did, man. So I went back and I played the first videos on the air. And one of the very first ones I had was "Hit Me With Your Rhythm Stick." Do you remember that song?
I do.
Ian Drury and the Blockheads.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I'm sure because that summer, the summer after, when I turned 16, my boss goes, "Did you get your license?" I go, "Yeah." He goes, "Listen, I need somebody in the field to do special installations. I know you know about electronics." And I go, "Why would I want to do that?" He goes, "Because it's $12 an hour." I go, "I'll do it."
There you go.
Because he was only paying me $4 an hour.
All right.
And I was a volunteer for many years. Anyway, so I jumped on the chance. And one of the first guys I had a special install. They had like 9 technicians out there. And I've only been doing the job for like a week. And it was at Moses Neimer's house.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And
Wow.
that was like, the run was over like 300 feet through the trees. They had to put a little proc amp in the tree, and
Oh, my
that's how we
gosh.
got it. And I became pals with Marilyn Lightstone after.
So
She was
for
like-
anybody internationally, Moses Neimer is kind of like a legend here in the city of Toronto in terms
he
of
walks on water.
starting City TV and a lot of sort of groundbreaking shows and techniques of television. And he's still around Toronto.
Yep.
Still
He
doing
owns
his-
Boomer.
He
Right?
does. He does. All right. So let me ask you some questions here. So we've already established that you're the imaging voice of CBC
Oh, okay. Yes.
and CBC Radio and Television. And
Mostly TV. I've done, a lot of radio, but Jeremy Harris does the radio, and Claire Gallia is radio too. And so it's pretty cool. But I've been fortunate enough to be the
how
promo
long's it
voice.
been?
18.
18 years.
Something.
Wow.
Yeah, almost 19.
Wow. That is pretty crazy in this industry to hold down a gig imaging because, new management, new people come in and it's really tough to hold that gig down. Let's talk about something else. I remember back in the 80s when I first met you, and we started doing bits together for the radio show. And I would go to your house, your parents' house, and in your bedroom upstairs, you had a little studio.
I did a 4-track, right?
Yeah, you had a 4-track TIAC, and you go up there, and I'll always remember this. You wouldn't drink coffee. You always drank tea because it was better for your voice.
Yeah.
And I remember you didn't drink alcohol. I don't know. Do you drink any alcohol today?
Just tequila. Seriously, because it's low in sugar, and if you buy really good tequilas, you don't get a headache. That's all.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I do drink coffee now like crazy because I married an Italian. But what happened was, I never drank coffee till I worked at Q107,
Okay.
and every morning I'd be in at 3, 4 in the morning, and I'd be the guy responsible for making the coffees.
Oh, okay. So you started drinking it then.
Well, just testing it because I hated the coffee. Because, when you buy those, they have the machines, the blend machines and all that. The coffee is always terrible. And I remember working with these guys. They go, "Yeah, just put a little salt in the coffee." I go, "Really?" And it does. It takes off the edge, right?
Okay.
So I'd put the salt in the coffee. I'm like,
Coffee tips with Tony.
yeah. And then, the deal, like at 3 in the morning when you're in there every day before everybody else, you're like, "Oh, I'm so tired." Oh,
Yeah,
great.
yeah. So you
So the
became
end-
a coffee addict. at
And
that point.
at the end of your shift, you've had like 37 coffees.
Oh yeah, you're bouncing off the ceiling at that point.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
point I was making was that a lot of people in the entertainment industry live a little bit too fast, shall we say? And you, from the very beginning, had an excellent work ethic, but you also kept it pretty clean. You didn't party hard. You were always out and about, but you kept a very clean lifestyle.
I think part of that was from playing music in nightclubs from the age of 11, 12. I was always around, and because I was a big kid, I would be playing in clubs where children weren't allowed. And none of the cops would ever stop me because I had the original Froggy voice. So they come out like, how old are you? And my lead singer like, I'm 19. Let me see your ID. And they're like, And back then it was 18, but he was 9. He was like 6 years older. So he'd hold up his ID and they
Did
go,
you have
how old
fake ID back then?
No, I didn't need it because they're going, how old are you? I go, 21.
Oh.
And they go, oh, okay, no problem. Oh, yeah, he's 21. All right.
That's great. That's great. Well, let's talk more about your professional accomplishments. So off the top, we talked about the fact that you have been an animated voice on, I actually just about fell asleep counting all of the credits that you have. There's something like 90 animated features that you have been a part of.
Well, I think a lot of them are missing because I never upkeep that IMDb, and I should, but I've been lucky enough to, that I had the right agent that got me the right places.
Well, and you've got a good agent, but you're also a phenomenal talent with an excellent work ethic. But as I've found out recently, you also have been doing some stuff on the camera. I was watching HBO not that long ago, and I actually enjoy this series, High Maintenance. And I'm just sitting there with my girlfriend watching, and all of a sudden, hey, that's Tony. I'm poking her. I know that guy.
You know how that happened too?
Well, I want to know.
We were doing ADR, and ADR for the home crowd is automatic dialogue replacement. So when they don't have anybody, like if they're missing Al Pacino, Connery, all these big name stars, and then even just background actors, they'll bring in a guy like me that can imitate them. And part of the imitation thing was doing voices for you. I had to learn, several voices. And then when I left you and went off to work with Jesse and Gene, they were calling me the man of 1,000 voices.
Mm-hmm.
At the time, I was doing like 20. And I'm like, God, they're calling me the man of 1,000 voices. I better start learning. So I started amassing all these voices, right? And I don't like to do caricatures of the voice. I want to get the voice down because I knew there was I guess a monetary component to working and learning the voice. So I'll tell you, I got to do Pacino for Pacino, Connery for Connery, Patrick Stewart. That was one of my favorites. I was at William Morris and Patrick Stewart walked in. I'm like, oh, that's Patrick Stewart.
That's cool.
Captain Picard. And he goes, hello. And I go, have Wesley Crusher meet me in my ready room. Tell him to bring a wet towel. And he goes, that's very good. I can't tell the rest of the story on here because it's my agent called me in the office and he's like, can't have you making fun of the celebrities. And I go, he said I made fun of him. He goes, no, and he thought you were charming. I go, oh, well, then why are you breaking my... And he's like, well,
I understand. He's got a great sense of humor, so no harm, no foul there. Yeah. So did you audition for that high maintenance gig or did they just...
No, my friend Dan Fink, he casts ADR and looping. He's got a loop group out of New York, and Dan was doing looping on high maintenance. So I came in with him and I did a couple of episodes. And then one day on the street, Ben Sinclair and Katja Blickfeld, they're amazing. Anyway, I saw Ben on the street outside of Carnegie Hall. How do you get to Carnegie Hall, Tim? Anyway, so I'm standing there. It's around the corner from our place down there. And there was Ben. He goes, Tony, the voice guy. And he goes, he says, we weren't going to hire voices for the show, but you guys came in, you killed it, because it just amped it. And he says, you ever do it on camera? And I go, well, I said, I got really big because I played Big Fat Elvis on Erie, Indiana. You ever see that? I got to show you those videos too.
Yeah.
Erie ended to the other dimension. I played the Big Fat Elvis and I gained like 88 pounds.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I finally lost like 8 of it. Anyway, so he says, great. I have an idea for a bit. And he says, do you have any restrictions? I said, hey, here's the best part. I said, it was so cool. I said, well, I record my promo stuff from 12 to 1 every day. I said, I just need a quiet place. And he goes, like a studio? And I go, no, I can record in the car. And he goes, really? And I'll tell you a story to link into that. So I get out to the set and they go, okay, listen, go away and do your recording. We got a car for you. And there was a rental car and it was a van and it had Ontario plates.
Oh, wow.
Can you believe that? So I was like, this is kind of cool.
That's fun.
So I recorded in the car and then I come out and then we went upstairs to the set and I shot with him. And that 1 minute you see there, that's only 1 minute out of like 2 hours of shooting.
Wow.
We were we were riffing hard.
Yeah.
And at one point, he had done, the Australian accent. You heard that, right? It's like, at first he was just, the big voice guy. So he's like, pass me that ham sandwich, right? And then he goes, hey, jump out of my cab. So I'm like, get out of my cab. And the whole crew just starts laughing. The camera's shaking. They go, we got to redo this. And he goes, I forgot you could do all the accents. Now he's hit me. Okay, Italian, Greek, German. Like we
So
ran
that was
through.
kind of improv.
Oh, yeah. And he's like, yeah, totally improv. And then at one point he says, all right, I'm going to catch you on this one. This is a guy born in Romania, but was living in France for 15 years. And go, pass me that ham sandwich. And I go, hey, pass me that ham sandwich. And he goes, how the hell did you figure that out? I said, well, my best buddy's Romanian. And I said, I grew up in Canada. You have to speak French. It's the law until you're in grade 12.
That's
You
awesome.
spoke French, didn't you, back in school?
Oh, just, survival French.
They allowed that back in just outside of London, right?
Chatham. Yeah.
Chatham.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Chatham. That's right. That was our other connection, you and I. I used to stay at the Wheels Inn.
Oh, yes. It's a parking lot now in Chatham. Yeah.
What?
Yeah, it's all
The
gone.
Wheels Inn is gone?
Yeah.
It had one of the first indoor water slides in Canada.
It did, in fact. Let me ask you, networking is very important in this industry. And so for success in my book, it takes two things. It takes talent and it takes networking, the ability to let people know this talent exists. And you, bar none, in my mind, have always been the best networker I have ever seen. And I want you to tell me any secrets that you would care to share for any fledgling voiceover or acting people out there that are looking for their break.
Just be honest. I think that's part of it. Being honest about it, because some people, I mean, Tim, you've been around with me for a long time, and my life has been, in some instances, pretty incredible. Like I've done things that, I was on tour with Triumph, Rush, right? So people go, oh yeah, right. So, but it's true. And you just, you meet all these people, and then you want to be kind, and you want to be, and I guess that's a part of the work ethic too, is being kind and being, because I've stepped over the line so many times with some of the characters I've done, not on purpose. It's like, they've asked you to do something. Even on the last episode of High Maintenance that I recorded, this is a true story. They said, oh man, we didn't hire an African-American actor to do this one line, and we have to have this done today. And I was going to call a friend of mine and say, hey, come on down. But they said, no, we don't have the budget for it. And so the director's African-American. He's like, I don't know what to do. And then we're all going, well, technically by a law, the union would be upset if he did it because he wasn't a member. And I said, well, I have one other solution if you're into it. And so I held up my 23andMe readout. He goes, holy crap, you're 12% African. I go, yeah. And he goes, done.
Wow.
And so, yes, I had to play this character, right? Now,
give us a little sample of that if you can.
I can't, man. It's like out of control. It's that whole Detroit scene thing. Anyway, so he was like, dude, this is amazing. And it came in handy last year. We were here doing an ADR session. I was working on this Nicolas Cage film. Hey, Tim, it's Nicolas Cage. Anyway, so we were doing this Nicolas Cage film. And I was working with these Chinese actors. They were awesome. These guys were so cool. But two of the guys couldn't speak Chinese. And the youngest guy was perfect. And then there was a scene with these two Chinese guys fighting. And it was all Chinese. And it was Cantonese. So it was great. And I knew a few words. And they tried the other guys. And Alan Chan, who was the director, I worked with him on, what was that Ken Finkelman show?
I remember the show. I can't remember.
Newsroom?
Yes, Newsroom. That was it.
Yeah. So I worked with him on Finkelman. And I remember getting there and he'd go, hey, just be cool, because if the bad Ken shows up today, you'll get fired. So, so I go in there and I'm doing this voice that they wanted. And I didn't like it because I said, it doesn't suit the script. It was for Peter Callahan's character. And I'm looking at it. And so Finkelman's like, I don't like that. You know what? Forget about it. Let's just forget it. And I go, well, I didn't want to do that. And he goes, what do you mean? I go, do you want to hear my take? He goes, yeah, let's hear it. So I did like a Bill Curtis voice. After setting the bodies on fire, Tim McClarty walked across the street, and he's going, let's go. And we recorded it, right? So Alan remembered things like, dude, you saved my butt that day. So I did a scene with this kid, Richard, this Asian kid, Chinese, and we did it in Cantonese. He helped me write out. I knew some of the words and he helped me write out. So we had this argument in Chinese.
That's so cool.
And he's like, dude, I can't. He says, your accent is good or better than mine. I'm like, and so that's where you have to walk the fine line.
Yeah,
and when I got my 23andMe back, 10% Asian.
Oh.
Whoa! That was a fine line, but
But you know what? You've illustrated a perfect example in talking about networking. So you're out on a gig and you're getting in front of people and saying, well, here's a possibility. And you're doing something and they're saying, that'll work. You're not being one of these guys that, hey, I don't want to say, I'm too afraid to say anything because for whatever reason, you've always been very talented, but also great at letting people know what you can do.
And it comes from the honesty, and that's that work ethic. Also, hello, I'm not here. So
we're going to just put that on
Toronto Dominion Bank. Can I help you? I shouldn't do that because I remember all the funny phone calls we've done.
So let's just pick it up from where you said that's just honesty.
Yeah, it's just honesty, and it comes from that place of like, I really want to help, and it's not because I'm a wiener or I'm being disrespectful. I really want to help. I've gone into productions where we're doing a voice for a cartoon. They're going, we need this kind of sound. I'm going, you know what? He's in the room. Let's get him in. They're like, don't you want to do it? And I go, well, I'll do it. But you know what? His voice, like, that's him. That's you. It's the best for the production. So they bring, wow, and it's just being honest because, you're going to work anyway. If you're honest.
Yeah. Let's talk about auditions. And this is sort of what you've just explained is kind of auditions live and in person. But hang on one second.
I'm on hold.
Hold that thought.
It might be me.
Unplug the master phone. How embarrassing is this?
It happens. Hey, I'm surprised mine hasn't rang like 20 times.
Let's talk about auditions.
Yeah.
So I've heard.
Okay.
Let's talk about auditions. So I've heard a couple of different theories on this. And again, I guess it depends on the people you're auditioning for. And you probably get to know them over time. You know who you can go in. Some guys like to go into a room and they like to yuck it up and kind of make everybody laugh and just create a really nice vibe. And I suspect that's probably you. But then there are some people, some casting directors who think, no, I don't want all your stand-up stuff. I just want you to read for the role and then move on. What are your thoughts on this? And do you alter your audition sort of process depending on who you're auditioning for? And if you don't know somebody, it's a brand new stranger, do you go in and kind of get a sense of the room? Give me an idea.
That's exactly it. What I do is if I know the person and I know what I can get away with, I will. And certain auditions require you to be above and beyond. Like, especially in animation, you don't want to walk in and go, flat read, because you're not going to get the gig, right? And if you're super over the top, they might go, oh, you know what? I'm just tired today. I don't want to deal with it. And that comes from another honest place, which I'll tell you about in a sec. And then if it's a place I've never been, like, working down in NYC, I get to meet a lot of new casting directors that I had never met. And so you want to be able to put your own spin. And I learned that from Roger Bumpus. Do you know Squidward from SpongeBob?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So anyway, Roger, one day, I was in reading with him and he buttons everything with his own take. And I'm like, well, you know what? I really like the way he does it. And it's the whole, because we grew up doing improv. So I wanted to get that out there. I've worked with the best, Colin Mockery and all amazing people, Kevin Frank, all our friends in town. I'm missing a ton of people. There's so many good improvers. And I just remember going to theater sports. Did you ever go there with me? No.
I didn't go with you, but I have done it.
You've
Yeah.
been, yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. I think we talked about it. Anyway, theater sports and then Second City, and that's a very important thing if you can get into a Second City class, hook up with Kevin Frank and people like that. You'll learn a ton, and you can take those. It takes away the fear of performing, and then you've got to walk that line of I can be a little disgusting, but not so that I piss people off. Because I remember walking into Pirate Radio and Television is a recording house here. They do a lot of ads. And I remember walking in one morning. It was a Wednesday morning. And the producer comes up. Actually, the voice director comes up and he goes, dude, please. Look, the clients are really upset. I go, why? And he goes, well, two other actors were in before you, and both of them stepped over the line. I go, oh, not today. I won't. What do you mean? I said, it's Wednesday. What does that mean? I go, all right. So the rule is from one of the bosses at Pirate on Monday, come in, do your job, try not to be a clown unless like the script really calls for it. Usually Mondays, it's funny. You don't get as much comedy on a Monday. Tuesday, just be happy. Wednesday, a little more juice, but nothing crazy. Thursday, open up. Friday, go crazy. So I always had that in mind. Like early in the week, nobody wants to deal with a clown, right? And so I kind of remember that when I'm even auditioning. If it's a Monday and I know the person, I'm just jovial, but I'm not going to be insane. On a Friday, you'll open wide up. And I remember how I met Cassandra, my musical partner, was I went in to do a Kohl's commercial. And the person that was on the other end, which ended up being Cassandra, had to pretend they were a really bad singer, singing the song, What a Feeling. Really bad, right?
Right.
It's hard to do, trust me. Anyway, and she's vacuuming at the time. So what landed me the job, which only landed me with the writers, but the owners of the company, Kohl's, would have said no way. But what landed me the job with the writer was the improv that I did at the end of it. She's singing really bad and vacuuming. Good vacuum, right? And I go, look, the Kohl's back to school sale. The only thing that doesn't suck in this commercial. And that booked me the job.
Very nice. Very nice. That's
And
a
they
very
said-
interesting observation in terms of gearing your energy according to what day of the week it is. I've never heard that.
Yeah. And that was one of the guys at Pirate, Tom. He just said, listen, you can't be crazy. And the two guys, one of them had actually said a really bad word. And it pissed off one of the producers from the agency.
Yeah.
So you're already like at a disadvantage walking in if you want to be funny.
For
So-
sure. For sure.
And then they're going like, dude, you're really subdued today. And I'm like, oh. And I said, I'll open up a little bit. And I did. And I didn't go crazy.
yeah.
One of my favorite stories was I think it's Terry O'Reilly's birthday today. And Terry's a famous Canadian producer, writer.
He's got that
just
show on
incredible.
CBC now. What's it called?
Under the
Influence.
Influence.
Yes.
Yeah, great show, which
Yeah.
you hear me on every
Yes,
so often.
yes.
I think I'm the guy that does the Under the Influence. So anyway, so Terry, one day we were in there. And again, it comes from that honest place. We're doing this commercial that was for, I think it was Ontario Power Generation. And they're talking about, I was doing like a big sportscaster, and Claire Donnell, she's got the dishes now. She's loading up the dishwasher. And so we did it, and everyone's like, oh, this is great, wonderful. And so I turned to Terry and I go, can we try something? And he goes, what is it? I said, it's a sportscaster. Let's make it iconic. And he goes, what is it? So I said, give me 2 seconds. I rewrote it. And we're coming in. I go, Claire Henderson has the dishes on the counter. She's picking up one at a time. We're doing it. And at the end, I'm going, Henderson, just saved it, whatever the money was. And they went crazy. They're
That's
going,
great.
that was genius, because it was the 72 Russia-Canada
Of course,
hockey
yeah, Paul
series,
Henderson,
and
yeah.
Foster Hewitt calling the Paul Henderson thing. So
Yeah.
I changed her name to Claire Henderson. It was
That's
really
great.
cool.
That's great.
Yeah.
Well, and that's also the power of a great creative group, where their ego doesn't get in the way of, I didn't write that, so therefore it's collaborative. And when they hear
Exactly.
something that's great, they grab it.
And I actually learned that with you guys, because when we were doing Willie's Comedy Shack and Willie's Ad Shack, way back, 112 years ago,
Yes.
we didn't let our egos get in the way of the comedy. which
You
was
never
good.
let your ego get in the way of a great laugh. Yeah, absolutely.
And that ties back into the audition process, where they booked another job a week later, and they're going, let's just get that guy, because we can trust his comedy
Yeah,
shops. And
yeah. Well, they like dealing with people who are fun to work with. If they're also talented, then that's just a slam dunk. Um, are you doing a lot of remote auditions these days? I mean, we got this crazy thing called COVID,
oh yeah,
and
like well, it's funny today. I just sent a note to my agent in Toronto because I go, it's a little quiet, and she goes, it's July, and I go, oh yeah, I keep forgetting. But my New York agent's crazy busy right now. They're trying to reboot, and the LA agent is they're nowhere because LA opened too quick, and I think they took a beating, so they're a little quiet. But I've been writing Tim a lot. Like I've got,
like
I'm gonna
music
say,
wise.
not just that. I mean, I just wrote a new song. I should play for you. I got to re-sing it though because I just laid down a guide track. But I got 6 sitcoms, 2 dramas, and a bunch of shorts that I want to take over to like
Yeah.
places like Quibi.
When do you
And
sleep?
what's that? I don't. I was up till 3:45 this morning writing, I swear. And then at 8:30 this morning, ding dong, the guy for the tree guy showed up.
Oh,
He
yeah.
had to cut down part of our tree.
Yeah, yeah.
And they got that gypsy moth around. I killed one yesterday.
I
I'm not
remember.
a violent person.
I remember that about you, that you would just go, and then all of a sudden it was like somebody snapped their fingers and you fall asleep.
Oh yeah,
I remember in
yeah.
St.
Remember
Catharines on the couch, you
we,
just fell asleep one day. You were
yeah,
gone.
because we'd been up quite a few days that week, just working late, and people don't understand this, and Tim will tell you when you're doing a morning show. I was just talking to Jeff Lumbee about this yesterday. Jeff's a great performer,
Yeah.
great radio
Oh,
guy,
awesome.
and when you do a morning show, and especially when I grew with Jesse and Gene, even Howard Stern, Brother Jake, Chum Morning Show, with you, Scruff, when you're working on a morning show, your whole day is comedy, line, bit. And 11 o'clock at night, you're supposed to be in bed by like 9, 11 o'clock, 12, you're still thinking about bits for the next morning. And that was my life for like 18 years.
Yeah. And that's very draining. It takes everything out of you. So CBC, let's talk a little bit about that. And this is my own curiosity. I listen to CBC a lot, CBC Radio.
Yeah.
And I hear your voice all throughout, and a lot of it's very topical. So you're going to be teeing up the current or whatever show it is, but you're going to be talking about the actual show that day, which means that you are recording at least daily. How does that work? Do you get a bunch of scripts and you sit down for a period of time each day and you knock them all off, or do you have to make yourself available? Let's say a news story
Well,
happens late in the day.
they'll buzz me, but for radio, Jeremy Harris is the radio guy, and when he's away, I'm the guy that subs in. I was supposed to do it, and it was just my agent at the time thought it was just too much to have TV and radio all day and then nothing else, right? Because it's nice to give another actor some work. So Jeremy Harris has been doing it, but you'll hear my voice because I'm doing other promos that CBC will play for TV.
Mhm.
But also when Jeremy's off, it's I'll fill in, and yeah, they'll Walter and David they'll prop together a whole bunch of scripts, and you read them all at once, and then they edit it down. And I try to give them deliverables so they don't have to edit as much. So I'll take out my breaths and stuff like that because I have the ability to kill a lot of the noise and clicks and stuff. Saves them time when they're going in,
Mhm.
But yeah, I like the way they do it. They bang it out, and there's same with TV. They bang it out. When I was with NASCAR, they and Discovery Channel, they would just bang it out. Discovery US and NASCAR US. They'd send you a bunch of scripts, and you'd sit there and going, okay. Discovery was cool because they book you for an hour, and then they send you a script that you have 15 minutes to record, and then 15 to upload, and then 15 to record, and 15 to upload. But by the time they knew I could read the stuff fast and edit and get it back. So I was getting like 5 scripts, and then I had 15 to upload, and then 5 more scripts. So they were like, hey, this is cool. We can get this done.
Well, yeah, you're making their lives easier.
Yeah. And that's an advantage having wherever you can, if you're an up and comer and you get to know the software, get to know how to edit, because that's the trick. I mean, I don't even know if Tim knows this, but back in the day when I was in Graham Cable, I learned how to edit video. You know, and I was editing. I've seen you. You're pretty darn good. I've seen Tim do audio tape with a blade.
Don't make me sound any older than I am. But I think
you and Perry McIntosh, these two guys, man, they would take like reels of stuff that we've recorded and edit out with the blade. And I was like, ooh, I hated that.
I think it's so hilarious though. You worked at Access Cable like Wayne and Garth. I mean,
yeah,
that's
I did. I edited video. I edited 2-inch videotape. You're putting it on the block and you're
wow. All right, well, let's
cutting it.
Let's stop dating ourselves here. Tell me more about so with CBC. Did you work with a producer or a couple of producers that helped sort of get the CBC sound, or was this something you brought to them and they just said, "Hey, this is great. Let's go with it"?
It was actually kind of weird. It was they had a changeover in 2001, 2000. And they brought in Chris Tate, from the band Chalk Circle.
Wow,
who's an amazing guy and a great talent. Anyway, but Chris had a bunch of stuff on the go with pirate radio and television, and so he couldn't commit to the time. And I had worked as the voice of On TV, which was CHCH that became On TV, the network. And I was working down in LA on cartoons, and then I came home one day and they said, "Listen, this guy Stewart used to be at CHCH. He went over to CBC and suggested me for a sports voice." And my agent couldn't decide on the contract, but then a couple of weeks later, they sorted it out, and that was it. So it's fun. And the producers they'll tell you, "Oh, we want this sound or we want this sound," but sometimes I'll just bring stuff that they don't expect because I think, oh, you want to have a little difference there. Like it used to be, the old school was, the big voice guy tonight on K100F. It's like, forget about it.
Yeah.
You want to get, if it's a comedy show, I can't use the same comedy voice. It's like, you'll notice on some of the networks, they have, tonight on whatever station it is, right? And then they got the tonight on cable news, they got the big news guy.
Yeah.
So I wanted to give them the whole gamut because I can do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's talk about some other voices out there. Who inspired you when you were first getting started? Was it who was the big voice of movie trailers? He passed away not that long ago.
In a world where Don LaFontaine was a god among men.
Yeah, I love Don. I booked a couple of jobs after he had passed.
Yeah.
But, and one of my favorites, and I lucked out, was this guy. I was working doing taglines for a cereal, and they go, "Oh, you got to sit down. We have the main voice of the cereal for 15 minutes," because he was like 90 something at the time.
Oh wow!
And so he comes in and he goes, "Try new Tony's turbos. They're great," right? And they go, "Okay, let's do it again." So after 15 minutes, our producer Clive says, "Man, we didn't get a clean turbos," and I go,
"You mean Tony's turbos?"
And they went, "Whoa, would you?" And I go, "Sure," because they're already paying me to do the tags anyway. I'm actually making as much as he was.
What was his name?
Thurl Ravenscroft.
Wow.
And you know him from one other thing other than Frosted Flakes. Ready?
"You're a foul one, Mr. Grinch."
Wow.
He was a singer.
Isn't that something?
Yeah. So I ended up, after he passed, George Longley and Josh Rackless were at Leo Burnett, and they hired me to be Tony Tiger. In fact, I did Tony last week right from here, right in this little booth.
Isn't that great?
And we were doing Tony. It was great.
It was fun.
Wow.
Yeah, I've been lucky to do that. And, it's one of those iconic things. It's like, I was working on this movie on Netflix called Underdogs. Check it out. It's a really cool, was written and produced by Juan Campanella out of Argentina. Then they adopted it for American movies. And
what did you do for Underdogs?
Oh my God, hundreds of voices. I was in with Dan doing stuff with my buddy Jason Griffin, and we were doing a bunch of characters. And then one of the main characters at the time was Chaz Palminteri. And I go, "That's a really good Chaz Palminteri." And they go, "Holy crap. Listen, he's away. Can you fill in for him next week?" And I go, "Sure."
That's great.
So I go in, right? And they go, "Oh," I go, "Yeah, it's John Leguizamo." So they go, "Yeah, we need some of Leguizamo's lines." "Oh, that's Bobby Moynihan." So they got me doing Bobby. And then Dan goes, "I wonder if you could scratch something for me." And I go, "Sure." And you're getting paid for the day, so you're in anyway. what is it? And they go, Mel Brooks. So I did Mel Brooks, and it was amazing. And he almost did it exactly like I did it. There's a hilarious story behind it, but it was really cool to feel these shoes like Mel Brooks, dude.
Yeah.
You know, it's
absolutely.
so cool.
Wow.
You know, and so I've been lucky that I've been at the right place too, in the right time, and getting some really cool gigs. You know, but Chaz. So I'm out. One of my best pals is Dominic Chianese, who
Okay.
played Uncle Junior in The Sopranos.
Oh, yeah.
And Johnny Ola in Godfather 2.
Mhm.
So for the last previous 7 years, except for this year, Dominic is living in London right now, family reasons. And Dominic and I, every Sunday, we would go to the Mary Manning Walsh home. It's a retirement home. Most of the people are in wheelchairs, and it's we would play all kinds of music, Americana, Canadian stuff. He used to laugh when I'd sing Canadian songs because I do some Stompin' Tom, and he'd crack up. And we do a bunch of Italian songs that I grew up playing guitar and singing with Dominic. And it was just, it's one of those things where somebody is doing something for the love of humanity, and I just did it 7 years every
Yeah.
Sunday.
Good for
and,
you.
Yeah, and it pays off because you start meeting other people. So Dominic and I were we were out with a bunch of people, and this one guy said, "Hey, I want you to come to dinner with Chaz's son." So I went out with Chaz's son and my friend, and then Chaz came in and he goes, "Hey, I heard you did my voice for the movie." And I go, "Yeah." And I go, "Are you okay with that?" He goes, "I got paid. You got paid. We're all good."
That's great.
It was kind of cool. And then Dominic's been a godsend. He's introduced me to so many cool people. Look up Irish singer Mary Courtney on Facebook and online. She's just incredible. So I get to meet all these people and play music with them, and then all of a sudden you're connecting to other
for sure.
persons like
For sure.
Steve Sharippa, who played Bobby Bacala, and he's also on Blue Bloods right now. We become friends through Dominic.
Very
and,
nice.
Yeah, God, there's so many people. It's incredible.
Let me talk about your music. So you're kind of a multi-thread. You voice, you write, you produce. You're great with editing and so on. I remember watching you create music in your parents' house, up in your bedroom, on that old TIAC 4-track in the 80s. And you actually could do amazing things on that. I mean, you did song parodies for me on the radio show.
We did a few.
Tell me about your music and recording now. You have a creative partner, Cassandra Kubinski, who I mentioned before we started the interview, is super talented, and the two of you make a great team. Tell me, do you have anything new coming out? And what about you individually? Do you have anything solo coming out?
Oh yeah, I got. That's funny, Tim. I've been trying to work on I've got about 25 songs here that are ready to go. I've been writing a lot for TV and stuff. So like a friend of mine called. We were down in LA, and she's like, "Yeah, my husband's producing, Yellowstone," and she goes, "Hey, yeah, I need a song for this one scene." And I go, "Oh, I think I have something like that." So she heard it, and she's like, "Oh, I love it. But you only have a verse and a chorus." I go, "Yeah, I wrote it for I wrote it for a Sacha Baron Cohen movie."
Cool.
And they only wanted a verse and a chorus. So she goes, "Can you do another verse?" So I rewrote it and ended up recording it here just a few weeks ago. I've been playing it live on Facebook, and so people love it. So, so Cassandra and I, we try to do as much. We have a new song. Well, we have a new album out right now. It's an EP called Dreams. I should send it to you because it's there's a lot of great songs on there. It started with the very first song we wrote. We did the Kohl's commercial, and I was telling you about,
Mhm.
and then she came over the first day, and we wrote a song called Everyday Heroes, and it's a great song. It's about just being everyday heroes, whether it's a teacher, EMS worker, the lady at the lunch cafeteria, everybody. If you look at close enough and if you open your heart, you can see like people that help.
For sure. Yeah.
And they really help us
Sounds
out.
like a great song for the times.
Yeah. And then I wrote a song for my friend Christine at Tattoo. It was for a Ford commercial, and I didn't like it, so I didn't send it in to her. And then Cassandra was like, we were talking about this other song, and I said, "Hey, listen, I wrote this thing. I want to play it for you." So I played a little bit for her, and I go, here's what I'm thinking. It's about these dreams, and it's very mystical. And so she ended up going, this girl can write like you don't believe. She goes away. 20 minutes later, I've got lyrics.
Cool.
So 25 minutes later, I've got tracks down.
Yeah.
And then a couple hours later, I've got a mix, and then she come back and sang it. And so that's the one that's on the video, I think, at the bottom of my email to you.
Yeah, and I love the animation. I mean, is there anything you
That was a lot of work,
Yeah,
dude.
yeah.
Oh my God. I took my iPhone and I got a Bluetooth controller, and everything you see there I drew by hand
Very cool.
and wrote all the lyrics out by hand and then time lapsed it.
Man, is there anything you don't do, Tony?
I don't cook. I suck. I can't. Mike Palazzi was one of the great sound engineers in the city. Huh? Oh yeah. So Mike Palazzi, his sister Philomena is like, there's a reason I'm heavy, man. I'm surrounded by chefs.
Oh, okay.
So she's one of the greatest chefs. She teaches at George Brown. Anyway, so she taught Rose and I, my wife, she taught us how to make coconut cupcakes last couple of weeks. So there you go. But when she was at different restaurants she was at, we've gone to eat there and just like fantastic. And she says, I can teach you how to cook. And I go, nah, I'll burn water. You know? But I've learned a couple of things, nothing major. You can cook. I know you can.
A little bit. So tell me about New York City. Now you're back in Toronto now. I guess you got out of Dodge just in time as the borders were being shut down back in the spring with this COVID-19. Now, do you spend most of your time under normal conditions? Do you spend most of your time in New York? Is it 50-50 back and forth?
No, it's back and forth. Yeah. But I got to tell you, it was a kind of a devastation. I was in LA and Rose calls and said, hey, you should come home and help your parents and my mom. I'm like, okay. I said, but I have a rehearsal next week for a TV thing. And so I called the producer, and one of my best friends got me on this show. And he's, do you remember the movie The Warriors from 1979?
Mm-hmm.
Warriors. So one of my best friends is Thomas G. Waits. He played Fox.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny, like I said with Dominic earlier, all these people came together. They all know each other from the old, like Pacino, Thomas. Thomas took me to Kelsey Grammer's house, and he and Dominic all knew each other. And Dominic and J.T. Walsh, before he passed, long before he passed away, they were doing Broadway. And Kelsey's like, do you know how I worked with Dominic and Tommy? And I go, no. And he says, so J.T. Walsh is with Dominic, and they're doing this scene, and they're playing guards. And he fell down the stairs, broke his leg. I got the gig. And I'm like, wow. And he goes, that was my foray into theater. And Kelsey, we stayed at his house. He's really nice. He's a really good dude.
Very cool.
Anyway, yeah. So I decided to come here. And I called Tommy and I said, listen, Tom, I can't make rehearsals for another week. And he's like, no, we're not getting to your stuff till later.
Another week.
Anyway, yeah. Think about it. They all got COVID, all of them.
Did they really?
All of them, yeah. And my friend Roger, he just retired from HBO, and another guy, Danny Backer, great clarinetist and singer and performer. A bunch of friends got COVID.
Oh my gosh.
So I was so glad to be here. And I said, and then, then they closed the border basically.
Yeah.
Like technically I can travel because I'm legal, but, but there's no, as you know, work is really kind of a little, I mean, it's summer anyway, but work is a little on the slow. I just wanted to, because there's, we have a chance to go out east and do things and stuff, but you really can't, it's a quiet time.
Well, this is a perfect segue for this next question for gearheads that are listening in. When you talk about auditions and talk about work, now you've got a beautiful Sennheiser mic in front of you there. You could do a lot of work right where you're sitting.
Oh yeah. Like I said, one of my friends had me do a test with this TV show a couple of weeks ago. They haven't gone to record yet because they're holding off. They were thinking it was going to go to phase 3, but it hasn't so far. So they may end up calling this week or next week. And it was for ADR for a TV show, and and I'm one of the few guys that can link video up to my system and record right to picture. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so they were listening in my booth and went, wow, does that ever sound good? And I said, well, the scene you're showing me, there's some, right now I'm tight. I said, so let me open it up. And I open it up, and now we've got some room sounds because I designed this. Like, I don't know if I ever told you this, Tim, but, and speaking of Jeff Lumby, who's a great carpenter, I learned from a friend about carpentry. My uncle taught me at first, and then I was working on my house with this guy, and I got really good at it. So I built all, I built all my booth stuff, all my everything. I can just build it from scratch. I have table saws and everything. So, so that helps. So like, if you're going to set up a studio at home, it's hard because nobody knows what to do. So my friend Gloria Slade, she had a setup she had to do a couple weeks ago, and my friend Ellen Dubin. And one of the things I suggest if you don't have the carpentry skills and stuff is you want to get a booth, like sort of like this. I'll show you around. So I'm under a canopy that I put.
Look at that.
And then, and then there's it folds over, and if you look on the outside, like there's a whole bunch of stuff on the wall.
Great! Wow.
Yeah, and so for the people that don't know how to build stuff, because it's not easy, I ended up telling friends, "Oh, here's what you can do: go grab yourself from Wayfair or where you would like to shop for furnishings. Get yourself a room divider.
Yeah.
Get the biggest one you can, like a 6-panel, 8-panel, and then you just get a bunch of sound blankets. Rot Blot on Adelaide in Toronto, or if you're in somewhere else, you can order from Amazon. These ones are from Amazon. They're like $17, and you just stick them around and make sure you cover the top, because people don't realize. Even here, I have a little ring off the ceiling, but I've got panels up there, but I leave them so that if I'm doing ADR, I can back the whole, I can take this roof off, and now I got an open air, so I can match a room tone.
Sound booth design is an art and a science unto itself. I built a lot of booths.
Well, I think I helped you build one.
I think you
didn't. I
think you did.
In St. Catharines at your apartment.
Well,
no, it was on Roncesvalles, off of Roncesvalles.
Yes, and of all the booths that I built, you never get it quite perfect. There's always something that you wish you would have done differently.
Yeah.
What else? So that microphone, for anybody that's wondering, that's a
Sennheiser 416.
416, yes.
Yeah, and you're on an RE20.
I am an old dinosaur RE20, which is kind of a broadcast staple.
No, but listen to it; it sounds fantastic.
No, it's great. It's a workhorse for sure.
If somebody doesn't have if somebody's got a lively room and they need to kind of get yourself an RE20 like Tim has, or a Shure SM7. Believe it or not, Michael Jackson, Quincy Jones, they recorded most of Mike's vocals on an SM7, a $300 mic.
Really?
Why? Yeah, because it's dynamic. So when he punches, the mic cardioid doesn't go. Ugh. Yeah. This is on a 416, it's got a small diaphragm. And it's funny, the first time I ever used one was at Pirate Radio. It was for a commercial for. I was doing a commercial for one of those lottery things, right? And I was like, why are they using a shotgun? Because I've been on TV sets, movie sets. That's what you use, a shotgun, because the shotgun goes way up here and you can do ADR. Hey, Tim, we're in the room, And then I walk in and I'm like, wow, I wonder what this is. And I went, you may want to try something. And you're like, whoa, that sounds so cool.
Yeah.
Like, because it picks up other tones that the RE20 or I have a U40, talking about a $5,000 mic. I got a U47 over here that I use for singing and animation. Yeah. In New York, I have a TLM 102, 103. They're made by Neumann, and they're great for animation. But I have 3 of these. I have the greatest story. I have one in a bag that I carry everywhere with a little, right now I carry a mixer face, but I have like, a Duet, which is made by Apogee. I have an Apogee 1. I have a Babyface by RME. So I've had a bunch of different interfaces. This new one called CE Centrance Mixer Face. It's great little portable. My friend Ellen just picked up a Audient, and she can actually take that on the road with her and record. So great story. We're driving from Toronto to New York, and we're roughly in Ithaca. And I got a call on a Saturday, which I usually know. Hey, Tom, it's Todd from Paramount Pictures. I understand you filled in for Tom Kenny as SpongeBob. And I go, yeah. And he goes, listen, we need like 11 lines for the movie. And I'm going, oh, great. They're going to book me on Monday. And he says, like, now? And I go, now? He goes, where are you? And I said, Ithaca, New York. What are you doing there? We're driving back from Toronto. And he's like, oh, that's not going to work for me. And I go, wait a minute. I've got my portable with me, and I carry a backpack. And if I'm out at lunch or dinner, I'll carry a small set, which plugs right in my iPhone. I use Twisted Wave, and I have a little Sentinel mic, which is B&H's knockoff of the 416, but it's $125 or something.
Wow.
Or that's what I paid for it anyway. And it's got the same profile. I'm looking at the EQs going, God, I don't even have to futz with it. It's just absolutely perfect.
Amazing.
And so he goes, yeah. So I said, well, wait a minute. Why don't you send me 2 lines? I'll send you back a test. He goes, well, all right. So I pull over into a rest area, hook into my phone with internet, and I send it back. He goes, dude, what studio is that? And I go, car. And he's like, that's from a car? I go, yep. And he goes, give me the other 9 lines. Let's get it done. So that it made it into the film.
That's awesome.
So it's just a bunch of Tom Kenny, SpongeBob things. I know at one time I'm yelling at Patrick, going, Patrick, ah! And they kept it. I was like laughing my head off. Ah! And I could hear it. Did you see The Secret Life of Walter Mitty?
I did, yes.
Okay, so you know the scene where Sean Penn is reading his own letter, but Ben Stiller's holding it?
Right.
It's not all Sean Penn.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very cool, Tony.
That was a cool one. So I ran into Ben Stiller at the Zoolander 2. My friend was a publicist on that, so she invited Rose. And
I hear he's a very nice guy.
He's really cool.
Yeah.
And I was talking to his now ex-wife, Christine Taylor. Is that her name? Yeah. And she and I hit it off. I don't know why, but anyway, and their kid is funny. He was making me laugh. Anyway, so Ben's like, she goes, so what is your name? I said, Tony Daniels. Ben goes, Tony Daniels. He was behind me. I didn't know. Why do I know your name? I said, I mean, you're Sean Penn from Walter Mitty. He goes, Tony. He jumped into my arms because he's tiny. Rose goes, did he just jump into your arms? And I'm like, yeah. It was really cute. He's really nice. And it was funny because when we were recording, I was in Toronto doing Tony Tiger. And I was at Tattoo. And I had Dan Horton as my engineer at the time. And I said to Dana Gadsden, I said, hey, Dana, is it cool if we can do a quick few pickups for the Walter Mitty thing on ISDN, right? Because they had ISDN there. And she goes, sure. And she gave them a really good studio deal, which is nice, because ISDN is expensive.
For sure.
I still have it, by the way. I have a box over here, and I had one in New York. I gave it to my guys at IPDTL.
Go ahead and finish your story, but I do I do want to talk about ISDN and just kind of wrap up with studio connections.
Tech stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. So just quickly. So yeah. So we were recording. I went through the thing once, and at first they were. So it's a good thing to know. First they were. We were just doing Tony, so you've got the big EQ, and they had said, "Wow, it doesn't sound like the stuff you sent us previously." And I'm going, "Oh, hang on." So I go like this. That's the universal signal for cut the mic. Mm-hmm. And I go, Dan, roll off the EQ from 300 down. He goes, really? I go, yeah. So he rolls it off. We do another take. She goes, oh, that's great. What happened? I go, oh, we changed mics.
That's great. That's great.
Well, also because we had a Manley in a Tattoo, we had a Manley reference mic, which is a beautiful mic. If you got $5.5K, you want to spend it, go for it. Anyway, so
that's good too.
Yeah, it's good. So we popped onto an 87 because that's what they used down in the studio in New York when I first did it, and that way we could match it. So getting back to the Ben thing, so they said, if she says, oh, one of the producers or director wants to come in and talk to you about redoing this. So the guy gets on the phone. He goes, okay, guys, who's the engineer? Dan. Have Tony start from the beginning, please. So I do one. He goes, Dan? Yeah. No, I wanted him to start from the beginning, not do the playback. And he goes, no, that was him. He's like, oh, let's do 2 more takes. Wow. Let's go. Thank you. She gets off the phone. She goes, Mr. Stiller loved you. And I'm like, that was Ben Stiller, so it's cool.
That's awesome.
So, I love those stories. They're kind of fun.
So let's talk about Studio Connects, because there you are with your mic in your booth, and you're able to do stuff for people all over the world. But there's this thing which a lot of pros are aware of from Source Connect, Sound Source. So you have that.
I have all of it.
You've got a bunch of gear, and you've got an IPDTL.
IPDTL is a British company. It was turned onto it by Howard Kogan. You know Howard, the voice of Jack Radio and stuff. So Howard said, hey, I'm using this. And the thing I love about IPDTL, if I wanted to call you and phone patch you right now, I could do it with the IPDTL, where you can't do that with Source Connect and other things. Mm-hmm. Source Connect's great. I've had it for a long time, years. I've got the standard version. I never went to the pro because I didn't need it. But it's been worth the money. 1 year, IPDTL is not cheap. It's not expensive. Like there's another one called, we're on Zencaster right now, and it sounds good. But there was another one that the big film companies are using. It's called Evercast. That one's expensive. That's $1,000 a month.
Oof.
Forget about it.
Yeah.
Source Connect, it's a one-time payment, or you can do a monthly, $70-something bucks. But
Yeah.
I think the one time is better for me. And IPDTL is great because I've got video, I've got phone patch, and I've got two dedicated ISDN lines. So I did a deal with the guy who owns it, and I sent him one of my boxes. And back, Tim will tell you, ISDN boxes were like $5,000, $9,000.
Oh yeah, they were gold.
And I have two of them. So I gave one of them to the owner of this company, and he put it in, he gave me two numbers. So
very cool. Very cool.
I'm happy.
All right. Well, I think we're going to wrap up here. You've been super generous with your time today, and I've loved hearing about the stories, not only of when we used to hang out when we were kids, but what you've been able to do with your career. I mean, you've gone from a guy that I watched in your parents' home to one of the most sought after voice guys in the industry. So it's been a pleasure speaking with you.
Same here. And don't sell your self short, Tim. I always say this, like I'm always grateful.
This is why you're the best networker in the world, because you always throw it back.
No, but it's true.
Don't stop though.
Okay. No, I mean, I always say this, Tim gave me a break when some people wouldn't. My friend Gary gave me a break at the cable station, and you don't take advantage. What you do is you use those advantages to learn from and grow and grow. And it's like one of the reasons I did so many voices, because you asked me to.
Well, I also had no budget, and there you were, this man of 1,000 voices. But believe me, you've made your own breaks and your own opportunities.
Come on, Tim. Over Schwarzenegger's gourmet popcorn. Come on, get to the chopper, Tim.
Oh, that's too funny. That's too funny.
That was a funny bit.
All right, Tony, thank you so much for doing this, and hopefully we can chat again soon.
Thank you, Tim.
That's Tony Daniels, and this is BrandScience, the podcast. The reference Tony made at the end was an old comedy piece we did called Orville Schwarzenegger's Power Pop Popcorn, written by the super talented Chris Segan for our radio comedy network at the time. Please leave your comments below, and if you liked what you heard, don't forget to subscribe for a notification of future guests and topics. As well, check out the links below that refer to topics discussed in this interview, including equipment, shows, and people talked about. Thanks for watching.